Hey Dasha, my name's Andrew and I work here at IELTSpodcast.com with Ben and the others. Thank you for getting this in, your trial correction on international marketing. These essays are really good for testing students' topic-specific vocabulary on globalization. The globalizing world is not only a very popular topic today, but it will almost certainly appear in great detail in the IELTS exam. So getting a little bit of practice in and some feedback on this topic is absolutely essential. But if you want to make significant improvements to your writing, it takes repeated corrections over time. Only this way can you learn to spot your own mistakes and stop making them in the future. But for now, let's have a read through and see if we can offer you some immediate improvements. Although it is believed by some people that international marketing is beneficial, has many beneficial aspects, I would say, has many beneficial aspects for most countries. There are others who assume that international marketing can be perceived as an intrusion. I would leave the threat out until later, because because it's an aggressive word, it would require a bit more expansion. A threat to what? So let's say it can be perceived as intrusive and a negative influence, and then just leave this out, because here you've said most countries, so we know that either, because this is two opposing views, so we don't need to say most countries one, some countries the other. This is about what people believe. So let's leave out some countries and just say that some people believe it to be an intrusion that has negative influence. This essay intends to discuss some points in favour of the latter opinion. Well done. Depersonalizing. Very few people manage to do this. We normally have to recommend that people put "I personally believe" or something like that, but you have managed to detach from opinion and stay academic. Nice one. Firstly, international marketing gets in the way is a little bit informal for academic writing. So we could use the word obstruction to obstruct. International marketing obstructs the successful growth of local sales companies. Great. For example, in Russia, the survival and development of local farmers' businesses has become. The survival and development has become. If it was local farmers' businesses have become, that would be correct. But we're referring to this, aren't we? The survival and development has become a daunting challenge, since global marketing forces them to compete with such global trading chains as Orchan, I would say, who generally offer better quality and prices, or are able to offer better quality and prices. Because the key thing when we're talking about local markets, the problem for me with international marketing is that it forces local producers against their will to compete with big multinational companies who have large budgets and lots of lawyers and many advertising staff. So when you get this little farming family in a piece of land wherever, you end up with sudden forced competition, which obviously puts a lot of people out of business. And that's the intention of a lot of international companies. A lot of international companies will say, we need to start advertising in this country, but there's lots of competition, we will have to sort that out. And the imposition that creates is, for me, a little unfair. I think it should be staunchly regulated. But let's continue. Moreover, being a part of the global trading process makes local companies heavily dependent on the political situation, and therefore it seems to be almost impossible to expand a business in case of war or conflict. You can just say in case of sudden war or conflict. In fact, the sanctions applied to the Russian Federation can be seen as a good example of that. you would have to expand that. I know that in your mind, this is an example full of context, but in the mind of a British examiner reading your work, they may not know about the consequences of trade sanctions on the Russian people. And therefore, this becomes an incomplete example. It's unsupported. So expand that a little bit, just so we know fully what you're talking about, because this is a fantastic example, but it needs to be explained. Who did it affect? In what manner did it affect them? To what degree did it affect them? And what were the consequences for everybody else? Expand fully. Show that you've thought about it, because I can tell that you have. The second point that has to be made is that not only do local sales companies suffer from international marketing, but also, in turn, local consumers. For instance, or subsequently, local consumers. For instance, it has become a real challenge for a regular buyer to make the right choice while shopping due to the fact that many goods are advertised according to the rules of the global trade. The rules of global trade. Don't need this. Hence, a lot of names of products are written in English no matter what the local language of a given country might be. Additionally, the prevalence of international products forces people to compromise on their real needs because finding a local product is becoming more and more difficult. I would finish with a therefore here. In academic writing, a paragraph should express a single idea, and it should introduce the topic of the idea, expand into that topic with your thoughts, and then it should support your thoughts with an example from the real world. Similar to this here, actually, except the example must be fully expanded. It should justify your statement. We need to see your reasoning. We need to know what you're thinking and why, because I suppose it's about trust and credibility. If someone wants to make a statement that has not been made before, they must justify it. In conclusion, I'd like to restate my opinion that international marketing has some obvious drawbacks for both developing local businesses and local consumers. I would expand that again slightly with something like, regardless of the benefits that it brings to multinational companies. Let's state the fact that the people who benefit from this really are only the multinational companies with the budgets large enough to spend on international marketing, whereas the little guy in the field growing his carrots is shafted, as usual. But Dasha, that was great. Thank you very much. It was a very intelligent expression. If you would like to continue receiving corrections in this manner, where I essentially sit here and point out all of your mistakes, you can subscribe to our course, the link to which is in this email. I do hope to be seeing some more of your work soon, Dasha. Until then, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye for now.